Okay, I'm not even going to address how silly most of the comments on that last video I posted were. Let's just have a good time. Occasionally I'm reminded how, no, I'm not going to say it because that defeats the whole purpose. Anyways, let's get into it. What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another teaser breakdown for Godzilla Minus One. In this one, we will be breaking down TV spot 4, Live and Resist. So there was a new Godzilla Minus One TV spot that dropped alongside the main trailer for Godzilla Minus One that came out a couple days ago, and I wanted to jump into it and go through all the juicy details that there were in it. And we'll be covering 35 things you potentially missed, and most definitely didn't miss all 35, but 35 things you potentially missed in the Godzilla Minus One teaser. Spoiler warning for Godzilla Minus One, because I have already seen Godzilla Minus One. I traveled to Japan recently. While I was there, I watched the movie a couple times, so spoiler warning for Godzilla Minus One. I'm gonna try and keep things on the lighter end of spoilers, but the TV spots are now getting into spoiler territory moving forward. So regardless of if I've seen the movie or not, the TV spots are now covering materials that are kind of spoilery, so just be warned for that. We start out with Shikishima taking the gunner position on the Shinsei Maru. Due to Shikishima's experience as a pilot during the war, he is the best shot on the ship. The Shinsei Maru is a ship that undertakes special post-war processing missions, including the discharge of undersea mines used during the war. This is why they're allowed to have a gun during the American occupation and disarmament of Japan, and is also why they have mines aboard the ship that they use against Godzilla, as seen in the second trailer for the film. We cut to this Super Kong Skull Island POV shot looking down Noda's arm as he points at Godzilla who's approaching them. While Shikishima does have an awareness about Godzilla before this point in the film, although he has no idea what to expect, the others are just learning of the kaiju for the very first time, leading to this very horrific Jaws-like shot with Godzilla being revealed here. Takashi Yamazaki has stated that he loves the MonsterVerse and has taken inspiration from those films, and he is also a massive Spielberg fan, which explains why this movie feels so much like a blend between Godzilla 2014 and Jaws. This shot also feels very reminiscent of Serizawa first spotting Godzilla's approach in 2014, as well as some of the shots of Godzilla in the sea in Godzilla vs. Kong. The Japanese cruiser Takao intercepts Godzilla as he approaches the Shinsei Maru. This enormous 668.5 foot long Takao class cruiser was launched from Yokosuka Naval Base. This is the same base that Godzilla attacks later in the film. In real life, the Takao, which was a real ship, was first launched in 1930 and served until 1945, where it was transferred over to British forces after surviving the war. In 1946, it was sunken as a target ship by the British. In Minus One, following the appearance of Godzilla, the ship was gifted back to the Japanese so that their navy could defend them against the kaiju, leading to the very exciting sequence that we have had teased ever since the first trailer for this film, when we saw Godzilla climbing up onto the ship. The next few shots show Godzilla being blasted by the ship's cannons, and unlike other Godzilla iterations, Minus One is able to be harmed by weapons, which raises the stakes and makes Godzilla's fight way more intense and personal. I love the small detail of Godzilla's tongue flopping around in his mouth as he's being blasted. These shots also confirm that Godzilla is able to do this very classic thing of standing on water, which is just something that Godzillas have done for a long time, but most notably got criticism in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Get ready for that in Godzilla Minus One, because it's literally a pivotal plot point that Godzilla can do that. He can just stand on water like that. I mean, they don't say that he can stand on water, but if he wasn't able to do what he does, a lot of the movie wouldn't be able to occur as a result. He just does it a lot, is what I'm getting at. The next shot shows this shockwave sending an enormous wave crashing against these two destroyers. The four destroyers featured in Minus One are the Yukikaze, the Yukaze, and then the other two ships are most likely the Yushio and the Hibiki, which I don't think are featured in this shot. All four were real-life destroyers who survived their service in World War II and are now being used to combat Godzilla. The lighting in this shot suggests that the ships are bearing witness to an intense explosion, which we can use to say is probably caused by Godzilla's atomic breath, which we have seen him charging up in the sea already in this scene before. We now have an extended version of Godzilla's MonsterVerse styled roar in Ginza, which is one of my favorite shots in the movie, and thanks to Thomas Matt Videos, I can now identify the building Godzilla is standing next to as being the Tokyo Electric Building. This is the historical Tokyo Electric Building, and it's just so nice to see brought to life back on screen. It's actually in the 1954 Godzilla as well, but just briefly. We then see Oishi on the ground as the crowd rushes past her, character. She's been knocked over after stopping in the street in shock, as seen in the Yamazaki documentary. In that, we see a man about to plow into her, and he's actually the one that winds up knocking her over. And this is basically her giving up and waiting for Godzilla to kill her, meaning that Shikishima must rush there to get her quickly off the ground and get her to safety, which we know he does because we've seen the trailers. Then we see the destroyers charge at Godzilla, who is lumbering outward towards them in the sea, doing that classic Godzilla thing, and this shot is so wonderfully Heisei. I love it. I love this shot. The back of the destroyer here features these strange metal canisters, and these are actually the weapons which they hope to use against Godzilla in this film. The cranes that have been attached to the back of these ships also play a part in the plot, so that's why they're there as well. That's a big part of their plan. We see Noda giving a rally to the men here, and this comes during the conference scene we've gotten glimpses of in the other trailers, and this is towards the end of the presentation while he's trying to pull everybody together. In the background, we can see Akitsu and Shiro Mizushima, who is already in his sling, meaning he's injured from earlier in the movie. This scene comes after the Ginza attack, with the chalkboard behind them featuring details about Godzilla's attack. Noda is saying that's the nature of this upcoming battle. It's a battle to live for the future. We will definitely fulfill our duty on this side. Which is just a pretty Rando Yaguchi styled speech that he gives, which I like. We then see Sosaku Tachibana saluting. This is one of the few shots that we have of him in the trailers. Tachibana is an incredibly important character to Godzilla Minus One, but does spend most of the film away. Tachibana worked in the maintenance department of the Naval Air Corps during the war, and wound up leading a group of men, including Shikishima, during the war, and Shikishima is someone with whom he has had a very negative experience with in the past. This comes towards the end of the film as we see Tachibana saluting a fellow soldier who's about to risk their life to take on Godzilla solo. We then see Sumiko Ota, who we also have very sparing glimpses of in the trailers. Ota lost her child during the war and is a neighbor of Shikishima, and she sort of fills in as a mother figure type of role during this film and is now looking after his daughter Akiko, a character whose name I totally messed up in the last video. I think I thought it was like Kimiko or something. It's an easy mistake to make when you only had to watch the movie and didn't get the subtitles. I believe her name's Akiko. Either way, Ota's looking after Akiko as Shikishima joins the troops in an attempt to defeat Godzilla. This is a fun new brooding shot we have of Shikishima here, and I believe this comes right before the big conference scene. We can actually see Shikishima and Mizushima already sporting their wounds here, and they actually get their wounds at the exact same time. I just don't want to say when. The other man standing here is Akitsu, and the three of them form this great friendship in the movie, with Noda filling in as the final bit of their four-man companion group. I really love it. It's a fantastic friendship between these men, and is one of my favorite parts of the movie. The final shot sees Godzilla standing next to the remains of the Ginza Waco building, looking up at the enormous mushroom cloud hanging over the city. We actually finally got to see what caused that mushroom cloud in a subsequent TV spot revealed for the movie, and I'll get into that in the next video we make. I don't want to get into it here because it does give away spoilers. Previously, I speculated that it might be an American bomber dropping a nuclear bomb onto Japan. There was also some rumors we talked about that maybe it was the Japanese detonating a nuke of their own. I've also discussed how, because it didn't really have the characteristics of a nuke exactly, or at least I didn't think it did, could have just been a wide-scale conventional bombing attack against Godzilla, or as the main trailer for the movie would suggest, maybe it's Godzilla's atomic breath. I'll leave you with that for now. I'm not going to give away the answer in this video, but I'm sure you already know. I love the detail here of the black fallout raining down from the mushroom cloud, and I don't want to give too much away, but because this wasn't an airburst, it spreads a massive amount of radiation through the air, which causes the black rain seen in trailer 1. I love it. That's good stuff. And that'll do it for this one, guys. There are a few more Godzilla Minus One TV spots that were released, but they're actually not full TV spots. They're like little teasers and featurettes that feature clips and moments from Minus One that I will combine into one breakdown for the next video. Until then, I want to give a huge thank you to all my patrons over on Patreon. I really appreciate the support I get in the Patreon, and if you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below, where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. And that's where I'll leave you for this one, guys. The last thing, I want to... Godzilla's not a real guy, guys. MonsterVerse Godzilla's not a real guy. You don't have to defend him so hard. He's not real. He doesn't appreciate it. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.